You're in tune, Chicago's most popular college music radio station. 89.3 is WKKC. This is FocusTalk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities. We're talking on a regular basis because the answers really matter. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about politics, religion, personal development, education, history, music. And then from time to time, we are spotlighting positive people who are doing positive things right here in the Inglewood community, throughout the Chicagoland area, as well as the entire United States. I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Joining me in the studio today is Miss Tequilla Shabazz.
Yes.
Sister, how are you today?
I am excellent, sir. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much for being a part of today's show, sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely.
So let me start right here.
Okay.
Why are you affectionately known as the General?
Because I'm no nonsense. Okay. But honestly, the name was given to me because I'm very serious about the work that I do, but I'm extremely strategic. With the work, when you're in the build black space, like I like to call it, in any sort of activism, a lot of times you'll find that we are quite reactionary with the things that we do. And one of the things that I try to teach or push as a coach in this space is that we have to be intentional with our acts, we have to be proactive, and we have to be strategic. And so I use a lot of data and research to back up the work that I do, so that we know I'm not making this up. This is not an opinion. This is how we move, and this is how we should be moving. So because I move in that way, and I'm very organized, and again, I'm very serious, they call me the General. The General.
Okay. Now, riddle me this. What type of work do you indulge in?
Absolutely. So I run a collective called the Bridge Embassy for Black America. And in there, we represent, we build, and we protect that which we build. What I focus on, our work primarily is in data and research, okay? So we do a lot of mining, a lot of the existing data that is here through your Nielsen's or your Pew research. But we also conduct we aggregate our own data and the way that people move from across the country within our Facebook group, BIBA. From there, I use that information to educate individuals or coach individuals on how we should move. So it could be an everyday person that's saying, how can I better support Black? I don't have a lot of money, so how do I use my time? It could be from that person all the way to the business that is trying to incorporate themselves a little bit further or closer with the Black community in general. So I data and research, educate, and use that to mobilize the people so that we're moving in sync.
Okay. Now, the data that you collect, that you analyze, that you research, does it properly reflect people of color, or it is used in a different way in order to get the information that you need?
Okay, so it properly reflects, I'm going to say this, it properly reflects Black people in this country, because I know that it could be skewed when we say people of color to include Latinos or Asians, but this is specifically African Americans. And I use that to juxtapose against the information or the data that is already there to see how accurate what has been collected is. But I also use it primarily to, like I said earlier, to educate us on the best ways to move. So for example, if I'm looking at all of our spending, and I can look at and say, okay, Black people are spending 43% on average of their disposable income into the food industry, okay? 43%. This is what we're spending in the food industry. And we're spending 20% in personal care and beauty. That allows us to see, okay, we're really strong in the food area. Okay, we have all these restaurants, so we're able to break it down very specific from the types of industries that we're supporting and the sub industries within. So if we're talking about food, jerk chicken or Asian, we can see where we have a deficit. We can see where we're strong. We can see where we're weak, and we can move accordingly. Why is this helpful? We don't need another jerk chicken restaurant. So if you're opening a restaurant, here are some of the areas where we're weakest, or we don't have a lot. We spend a lot of money on groceries, okay? But you'll see a lot of that money going out, but we don't have a lot of the grocery stores. So what can we do now to use this data to start to build around things that we need?
Okay. So now, how do we redirect those particular areas and utilize them for the benefit of Black America?
I think that's a good question. That's where the education comes in. A lot of us there is no one else right now that is collecting data on the way that we do business with each other. Most of the data that is collected is how Black America does business with major corporations, where our money is going in the Walmarts and the Targets, etc. So how does this help us to build? Like I said before, it really helps when we have an emergence of entrepreneurs that are happening right now. When someone sits down with me and they say, hey, I have an idea to start a company, I can say, well, this is how, it's pretty, it's pretty saturated in the t-shirt market, or it's pretty saturated in the jerk chicken market. But again, here's where we are a little bit weak. Let's take some of this idea, bring this together, and then begin to build accordingly. We're in the time right now where we don't have a lot of, does that make sense? I'm sorry. Does it make sense? I'm trying to go back. I'm looking at your face and I'm like, wait, does that make sense to you? Did I answer that question?
Yes, most definitely. I have another question,
Okay.
but please finish your thought.
Okay, so you know what? Let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay.
I think I answered that.
Okay. So now, when you present the information to entrepreneurs or
Yes.
to individuals who are interested in starting businesses
Okay.
that may be saturated already in the community, how open are they to doing something different, or more specifically, following your lead?
That's a good question. It's a battle,
Okay.
because people
Want what they want.
They want what they want.
Right.
They've, they're territorial about their idea. A lot of the times, when we start our businesses, we're starting off of a hunch, right? We're not doing market research. That's what I'm finding with we're not putting together business plans. We're just saying, nobody's doing this t-shirt. Really? How do you know? Because most of the time I'll start and say, have you looked at any of the businesses that are competing in this market? Nah, I just know nobody's doing this. Well, I can tell you who the individuals are that are in this market, what they're doing, how they're doing with our people, so I'm able to break that down. And usually when you come with facts, people are a little bit more willing to listen to you, but it's a fight. Sometimes people walk out like, you don't know, I'll show you. Other people are open and they're winning.
So
They're
Tequilla, riddle me this. If I am an entrepreneur and I want to start a business,
Okay.
and I don't have the research, but you do,
Right.
how do I find you, or do you find me?
A little bit of both, actually, because I have this collective that is I have ears and eyes on the street, right? And they are constantly feeding me the content, okay? They're telling me, I supported this business with my dollar. I supported this charitable organization. With my time, because I say build Black, not buy Black. There's a distinct difference. Buy Black falls under build Black. That's just one component.
Buy
Buy Black falls under build Black.
So if I'm buying Black, I'm automatically building Black?
That's one leg of building Black, correct, but it's not the whole story, which is something that I educate on, because right now what we're hearing around the movement, and Black economic empowerment is buy Black. That's promoting consumerism. We're still promoting consumerism, which means that we're promoting debt, Now, people are like, but we got to support our businesses. Yes, we do. But when you're talking about building a community, it's bigger than just buying things. What about giving Black? How are you investing your time? What about investing Black? What land are you're doing? What about
rich.
love Black? Exactly. So when I look at economics from a holistic perspective. And I'll give you an example of this. I study, there are different forms of capital, okay? So we look at 8 different forms of capital. We start first with spiritual capital, right? Then we go to natural capital, which is your natural resources. Spiritual capital is your faith. Then you're going to human capital. That's your experience, your knowledge, your skills. Now move on to cultural capital. That's your music, your language, your fashion, your arts. Then you're moving on from cultural capital, social capital. That's who you know. You know, your network is your net worth. Then you're moving on to physical capital, access to equipment and machines. All of that equals your financial capital. See, we're missing all the things that add up to financial capital, and we're going right there. So we're missing a big piece of the economic puzzle when you don't break down how wealth is generated in the first place.
Okay. All right. So now, considering that there are so many different pieces that are at play that many individuals have no knowledge of, how do you unite them so that they can be beneficial not only for the individual who is doing the uniting, but those who are disconnected?
So that's the tough part of the work. And that means that you have to continuously put out content. It's one of the reasons why, and I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but the reason why I produced the Neo Green book, which is meant to guide people towards a different way of thinking in this Build Black space.
Now, I want you to know that I had a whole list of questions already written out that I was going to ask you. However, we went off in a different direction. No. It's good. It's good because I'm very excited about what you do. Now, riddle me this. How did you get started with your mission?
Okay.
Collecting the information and being as astute in the area that you are?
You know, it started with just being consistent and staying on the path. When I first started 5 years ago, 2012, that's what I call kind of the reemergence of the Black empowerment movement. Trayvon Martin marks that. You saw the emergence of the Black Lives Matter. You saw a Black Mall born. You saw a Bridge Embassy born. Even though it may not have been directly tied to the Trayvon Martin, I know that my work was directly tied to the violence that was happening here in Chicago. And I'm like, I have to do something. I left my work with the Tribune Media Group, getting paid very well, and dedicated myself to community. And from there, I took the position as a student. You know, so I started off where, I'm going to get all these people and we're going to put in a little bit of money and we're going to go out and we're going to help individuals that need capital, right? Because I saw that our communities were lacking in capital. And of course, as you continue to do this work and you are met with different challenges, then you either give up or you continue to find a way to make this work. About 2014, I believe, 2014, I read a book called Invisible Capital by Chris Rabb, and it opened my eyes about economics. We're so busy focused on financial capital, but there's a whole nother world that we're not talking about. Social capital, for example. You know, think about how I'm on the show now, or how you get most of your guests, or the conversation we were having beforehand. Call this person, hit that person, do that. That's our social capital, right? And most times that's how we get who you know, it's about who you know. So those different things began to open my eyes. And then I looked back and I said, wait a minute. I produced 30 short films with $0. How did I do that?
30 short films?
30 short films in 1 year, covering social activists, Black social activists or Black social entrepreneurs in the city of Chicago. And this would be valued at a minimum. I'm talking about a dirt cheap budget would be at about $500,000 if you did it dirt cheap, you know? And I'm like, how did I do that? I think I invested maybe $3,000 on the whole thing. And then that's when I started putting value to human capital, social capital. I'm like, oh, human capital. I knew people that had the experience. I knew people that had knowledge with making things. What I didn't know, I taught myself. Then I began to go through my network. Who do I know? Interviewing them, and they connected me to other people. So that's when it started to make sense that even though they're pushing this narrative of poverty, and we're accepting that narrative, we are a community of abundance, and we always have been. And this is how we've made it as far as we have. And money has nothing to do with that.
Fascinating. Fascinating. So now the purpose of capital,
Yes.
and correct me if I'm wrong, is to acquire things so that you'll be able to promote, build, increase, go forward, move on, those particular things. So with spiritual capital, with the different types of capital that you mentioned, they can be put to a productive process or way. However, most of us don't think that.
We don't. We're too busy thinking about money. We're too busy thinking we're lost in the money and therefore we stay broke. It is true. Think about this. I thought years before I left my comfortable job making 6 figures, I wanted to go out on my own. You know, I had my daughter. I'm like, she got to get through college. We got to pay this. We got to pay that. We got to pay that. Most people remain enslaved or imprisoned to situations that they don't even want to be in because they're thinking about, I'm not going to have enough money to pay this bill or survive. But here it is. We're talking 5 years where I've made less money than I've ever made in my life. And that includes as a teenager. But I feel wealthier than I've ever been in my life because I haven't been homeless. I eat every single day. I've sat near and had dinner with some very prestigious people that you would say are out of my class league, you know, and so it's been revealed to me that I have everything that I need. And once I've adopted that mindset, really things just, I know this sounds crazy, but they begin to show up when you know how to use your capital effectively. So if you have a home, right? You have a home and you have a backyard and you're doing nothing. You may have some barbecues back there, here and there, but you have this backyard and you spend at least $1,000 on produce every year. Now you decide, you know what? I'm going to increase my human capital in the area of gardening, my knowledge in the area of gardening. You learn about gardening or urban farming and you decide I'm gonna grow my cucumbers and my tomatoes and my kale in the backyard. You spend $20 on seeds. Now you've reduced what you had to put out financially from $1,000 to $20, learned a new skill, grew enough fruit and vegetables in your backyard. Now, canned them for the remainder of the year and had some to share with others or possibly even sell at a farmer's market.
Okay. Now hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to take a break.
Okay.
And on the other side, because I don't believe that it's over already as far as this first segment.
Oh my God.
I'm here mesmerized by everything that you have to say. So hold on. We're going to come back and we're going to talk more about the whole capitalistic portion, as well as moving forward, and then most importantly, the mindset.
Absolutely.
You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station, 89.3 WKKC.
You're watching FocusTalk TV
with your host, Dennis Snipe.
Ooh. Wait, is it safe to speak?
Yeah, we're good.
Is that too much?
No.
I get like jungly. I'm sorry.
No, that was rich.
Was it?
Yes.
Yes. I'm like, is that too